Bosh. Are we on, Jonesy, or what?
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah, happy days. Right, guys. Afternoon to all the Football News UK fans. So, just want to say a massive thank you to everybody so far. 70 subscribers in 3 weeks. So it's like, wow, we just can't believe how much the support that we've got so far, and we're so grateful. We're here today. We're going to be speaking about the Premier League season up and coming. Obviously, Premier League sort of is going to be our main topic throughout the season. And we're going to be doing the European coverage as well. But me and Jonesy have been proper excited for today. But Jonesy, how are we doing, lad? All good?
We're doing all right, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate. So
it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back, mate, and it's good to be talking all things football. So, Jonesy, obviously as we approach the Premier League season now, been a lot of activity, mate, and I actually think, that this is going to be sort of like the most exciting season in a while. And I know that's like a thing to say, isn't it? Because we've at the start of every season, it's like, oh yeah, this will be the best season in years and everything like that. But
yeah,
I don't know whether you agree, mate. Do you agree that this has got like a different like feel to it? Like, you look at all the signings that have been made, all the sort of transfer activity so far. What do you think, mate?
I think it is going to be an exciting season. So it's like I say, every season just gets better and better, doesn't it? Like, Manchester City obviously dominating for the last few seasons,
Yeah.
and it all comes down to obviously strengthening in the summer, doesn't it? All the teams, and I'm just looking at some of the teams here that the signings that they've made. I think Arsenal, to be honest with you, mate, have done the best signing so far, in my opinion.
Declan Rice, Timber as well.
Declan Rice, and Havertz as well, which is another
Havertz,
thing. We actually spoke about that in the first episode, didn't we? Actually, about him, where he's going to fit into the system and that. But I'm sure Arteta's got a plan for him, hasn't he? But for me, I think Arsenal at the minute have done the best business so far. I think Manchester United as well, mate. I think they've done some good signings. That Onana, he's come in, hasn't he, from Inter Milan?
Yeah.
Ten Hag's do it. I think Ten Hag will be even better this season, mate. Like I say, I saw the pre-season game actually against Arsenal, which United won 2-0. I know that's only pre-season, but they looked quite good. So for me, and then obviously you've got Chelsea with obviously Pochettino in there. They've made some good signings as well. But for me though, mate, I think Chelsea, with the signings that they've made so far, I think they might struggle a little bit.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Sean, actually, because I wanted to start with Chelsea, to be fair. So let's go back to last season. Obviously, they had, Potter that came in, didn't he? From Brighton. Obviously, being a Mac fan, I love Graham Potter because he was one of the best left backs I've ever seen play for us. But that aside, he went to Chelsea, obviously after proving himself at Brighton. I think it's fair to say, Jonesy, as well, it didn't work out, did it? Obviously going to a big club, which Chelsea are nowadays. And they've had with the new owner that's come in, Tom Bowley's got a lot of money that, and they've been heavily criticised for that. So we fast forward to this summer, Jonesy, as well. Pochettino's come in. I think any football fan, Sean, would be delighted with Pochettino coming in. Although I don't think he's in that top bracket of managers in football as of yet. First of all, I want to touch on that with Chelsea. What do you make of the appointment of Pochettino, mate? What are you saying?
Well, obviously, like he's a top tier manager, isn't he? You know, he's done some good work, hasn't he? But like you say, I don't think it didn't work out for him at Spurs, did it? I mean, yes, he got him playing better football, but at the end of the day, mate, he didn't win anything, did he?
No,
You know,
no,
he didn't win any trophies, and
no.
football is all about winning trophies,
Yeah,
and he didn't win it. He didn't win anything. So,
no.
and then obviously he went to PSG, didn't he?
Yeah,
But again, that didn't work out for him, did it?
no,
It didn't work out at all.
no.
Obviously with the players that he's got and stuff like that. But and then he took time out, didn't he? I think he was he out of a job for a year or even longer than that? I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I think the thing is with him, Jonesy, as well. And guys, let us know what you think in the comment section. Reference Pochettino. I think that there is that with Pochettino that there's this thing that I think with him, Sean, where he's got to have like this sort of project in front of him where with Chelsea now, that there is a lot of young players there. Um, the, in terms of identity or anything like that last season, mate, Chelsea were just nowhere near anything that a good football team should represent. You know, leaking
well,
too many goals, no system, no cohesion whatsoever. And it's like I looked at him last season. You think about all the great Chelsea teams over the last 10 to 15 years, whether it be under the various managers that they've had with Mourinho, Gus Hiddink had a good spell in charge, Ancelotti,
Di
you
Matteo,
Di
he had
Matteo, Conte, all these good managers that they've had. And not once did it represent any of that whatsoever. When I think of Chelsea in their pomp and in their best years, really from 2004 to 2010, I would say
yeah.
they were solid, reliable, physical. They could do many elements to the game where they could say where they could go right. Do you want to if you want to go down the football route with us, we'll do that. If you want to make it a scrap, we can do that. And I think Pochettino has got to try and get that back at Chelsea, Sean. I think like the club just seems a bit up in the air at the minute with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, the young signings come in. The young lad Jackson, he scored against Wrexham the other night in the pre-season friendly. And I just think with this now, I think Bowley has given Pochettino that job to basically rebuild and say, right, we're giving you, you know, a 2-year project here where you've got to stabilise the club.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Chelsea as well, there's a lot of players out on loan who really should be there and looking to get into the first team. But I'll be honest with you, mate. I can't see Chelsea finishing in the Champions League places. I don't know what you think.
Well, just going back to the transfers, so yeah, like they've signed Nkunku as well from Leipzig. They got that deal sorted in early on in January, didn't they? But
Yeah,
52 million, a lot of money. But I think he's a good player, so I think he will improve him up front.
yeah,
And like you say, Jackson as well cost him 30 million for him as
yeah,
well. So he looks an interesting buy. I don't really know much of him, but I've seen clips of him as well, like obviously off YouTube and stuff. But
yeah,
like you say, he scored in pre-season, so that's a good start for him. But then going back to some of the transfers here that I've just seen here, so young players from Brazil, I've never really heard of. I don't know if you have. So they've signed some guy called Kendry Paes.
yeah,
He cost him 17 million.
yeah,
I'm not really sure about him. I don't know much of him. They signed Angelo Gabriel from Santos.
yeah,
I heard he's going to get loaned out. So that's another typical Chelsea signing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
They've also signed two other youngsters called Alex Matos. He was actually from Norwich, actually.
yeah,
And then Diego Moreira from Benfica. So, you
yeah.
know, For me, I don't think they're they're probably good signings for the future, but at
Yeah,
this current moment in time, I don't think that's going to do him. It's going to improve him now, is it? I mean, I
no,
know they're trying to sign Casado as well, but that Casado's obviously been going on for such a long time.
yeah,
Obviously, he's Premier League proven, isn't he? So
yeah.
he'll obviously improve the midfield straight away. But it's still not done deal. It's still not a done deal. So where did Chelsea go from there?
Yeah, it's a good point, Jonesy, as well, because a lot of the signings there to me are very much for the future. I mean, I think it's important that we're not overly critical of them as well, Sean. Where you look at some of the signings as well with Badia Shield, brilliant young player, mate. I'm a massive fan of him, mate. I think you look at all the great
Yeah,
defenders we've had down the years, mate. Carvalho, Terry, Thiago Silva. Um, even William Gallas was a great defender, and then obviously going further back, you've got Frank Leboeuf, Marcel
yeah,
Desailly. And I think Badia Shield could be in that mould. I think he's a great young player, mate. And I think, obviously, not just at club level, Sean, but at international level, we'll start seeing much more of him.
yeah.
We've got Mudryk as well, mate, who I think we're still to
I
see
think
the best of it. The
I
best,
think
the best.
I
Sorry,
think
mate.
going on to sorry, so I think going on to Mudryk, mate. I think obviously Arsenal wanted him in January, didn't they? And they weren't
Yeah,
willing to pay that much money for him. But
yeah,
um, I think Pochettino will improve him. I think he'll be a different player next
yeah,
season. I saw Chelsea's pre-season game against Brighton actually the other day, and he actually scored a great goal in that game,
yeah,
Mudryk. So yeah, like the players that they've already got, obviously they've got a big squad, haven't they?
yeah,
So I think Pochettino has got obviously a big job on his hands. Um, but for me, I think some of the players, like you say, Mudryk, you've obviously still got Raheem Sterling there as well, he obviously had a disappointing season, didn't he, last season? So I think Pochettino will improve these players, and I think Chelsea will do better than last season because let's face it, they couldn't really have got any worse, could they?
no,
Um,
no, no.
but yeah, I think. But for me, like you said, I think they will struggle still, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I do as well, Sean. But I think it's a really good point that you bring up there, reference Mudryk, mate, and in terms of what sort of Pochettino's managerial style is as well. Pochettino's one of these managers, mate, where he likes to go into a club, get these players who are sort of underachieving or underperforming, and he can enhance them, because tactically Pochettino is good. He's always had a good rapport with the players, probably bar his time at PSG. But I think it's fair to say, Sean, that um, a lot of people have a struggle with that at PSG.
Yeah,
But I think yeah, I can see them, mate, just outside the top four. Um, but I think the appointment of Pochettino is relevant to where the club's at the minute. A lot of young players, um, they need moulding. They need that manager to come in who they can sort of relate to, get them playing, and Pochettino will do that. Whether they'll get success off the back of it, obviously we'll be doing videos throughout the season. Remains to be seen. But
yeah,
there's going to be
yeah.
no European football for them this year, Sean. Obviously, coming 12th, it's not really ideal for a club of that size. Um, and there's
Well,
a
they've
lot
done
of
it before, haven't they?
well,
They've done it
yeah,
before. Yeah.
if
Um,
you look at the season after they won the league with Conte, Sean, that season after they won it, they were
yeah,
right down the table then. So there is that
yeah,
inconsistency with Chelsea, and there is that element of chaos as well regarding the club. We all know what they're like, and that's no disrespect to the club or Chelsea fans in general. That's just basically the way the club's been run since obviously Abramovich came in 2004, and obviously now Bowley's took over. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens at Chelsea, Sean. I must admit,
Al-
but
Also, Saul. Sorry, just to interrupt.
yeah,
They're also trying to sign Elise from Palace as well.
Yeah,
get another winger there, another youngster. I mean, obviously he's
yeah,
Premier League proven, but again, another winger. Is that what they need?
yeah. Not in my opinion. I just don't get that policy really, because really what Chelsea. I mean, if you actually look at it, yeah, down the spine of the team, they're actually not that bad. In fact, they're actually very, very good. They've got obviously the goalkeeper, the Badia's Shield. They've got Enzo Fernandez in the middle of midfield. It's the top end of the pitch, Sean, where that's where it matters. And if you look at all the top teams in the league, they have got that striker who can score them a 15, 20 goals a season. And Chelsea historically have always had that player, whether it be Zola, whether it be Drogba, whether it be Costa, Hazard,
Yeah,
all these sort of players, they're going to need
that's
someone
what I
like that.
mean. It'll
So
be interesting now, Saul, to see if that Nkunku can do that role. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, he's scored a lot of goals in the Bundesliga over the years, hasn't he? And
yeah,
obviously the Premier League is a different league. So,
yeah,
like I say, it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually cope and handle the Premier League.
yeah,
So, hopefully, he does do well, because it's. I know, coming from an Arsenal fan, it's not like with these Chelsea supporters and players boosting them up, but it's kind of sad to see a player flop, I think.
yeah. It is, mate. Especially when I mean, especially when what sort of potential that they've got and everything like that. And I think
Yeah,
it's a shame, mate. But no, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens at the Bridge this season, Sean. And obviously, guys, we're going to be giving you updates throughout the season. When we're talking about the Premier League in general, Sean, I want to move on to Manchester City then. So treble winners last season, doesn't really get better than that. I'm sure we'll agree.
yeah,
Um,
definitely not.
So Kovacic has come in this season. Obviously, Chelsea. Obviously, that was I think that's quite a shrewd buy. If you want my honest opinion.
Well,
Um,
yeah, he obviously went to replace Gundogan, didn't he? So
yeah,
obviously a lot of experience there has been lost, but Kovacic has also got that experience in the Premier League, hasn't he? And Champions
yeah,
League, international level, etc. So I think that's a good signing, good clever signing, in my opinion.
yeah, and I think as well, mate. Again, going back to last season, what we just did with Chelsea, then, mate. My admiration for Guardiola last season, Sean, I don't know about yourself, mate, went through the roof. Yeah, and I tell you why. And obviously, you being an Arsenal fan, Jonesy, I don't mean to put a knife in your back, so to speak. But like, you've got to think, mate. Halfway through that season, it looked over, didn't it? It looked completely over. Where they didn't look like they were going to come back. And for Guardiola, yet again, mate, to come up with this system where
Yeah,
it was just like I'd never seen anything like it before. He's playing the three centre backs, the two holding midfield players. Then you've got the other midfield players in front of that who can just sort of roam and interchange and everything like that. And obviously with the big man up front in Haaland, I just found it unbelievable, mate. And for them to go and win 3 trophies as well, I thought was a magnificent achievement. I must admit, I look at all the criticism that Manchester City get, Sean, and they've got all this money and they've got this, that, and the other. And
yeah,
I think it's really, really harsh, mate. And I'll defend Manchester City today in this episode because this is a club that was getting 30,000 back in Division 2 back in the 90s when they weren't that good, seeing the neighbours winning league,
winning
championship
everything.
after league,
Yeah,
and everything like that. And then to see him now being such a well-run football club who, yes, they do have a lot of money. Yes, they have got the exposure when things aren't going well to go, right, there you go. There's 200 million, kind of go and sort it out, so to speak. But I think that there needs to be a lot more credit that heads that City's way, mate. It's funny how people don't mention, the way the clubs run, how shrewd they are in terms of a business. They're always obviously a very profitable club. Yes, there has been rumours going round about the FFP, but to be honest with you, Sean, that happens with most clubs nowadays. If a club seems to be spending £80 million and £90 million, then there's going to be sort of like a question mark. You know whether they're breaching rules. You know, you look at them last season; they're introducing young players off the bench. You know, Foden's been a great example of that. Obviously, he's one of the brightest young talents that this country's seen in a long time. And I think, you know, next season's going to be interesting. I mean, there's not really, you can't really go anywhere without with winning a treble, but. I honestly, mate, I think if Guardiola stays there for another 5 to 10 years, mate, I think his trophy haul could be ridiculous. I don't know what you think about that, mate.
Well, that's it. I mean, like you say, going back to the tactics as well and the formations and stuff. You know, he changed the role. Sorry, of John Stones, didn't he? You know, John Stones has obviously been playing in midfield last season. I mean, look at him now. I mean, he's scoring goals now, isn't he? I mean, from midfield. You know, they've got him and Rodri in front of the defence. And like you say, Haaland as well. Obviously, you know, everyone knows what he's like. You know, and like you say, considering some of the players that they've signed, Saul, as well. Like, look at that Akanji that they signed from Dortmund. I mean, they only got him for they only signed him for like what, 16 million? Which is an absolute bargain, isn't it? Considering the money these days. And also Haaland as well. I mean, he cost 50 odd million, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, that is another like bargain in my opinion. I mean, with the goals that he scores, I mean, it's ridiculous how I guess cheap that City got for him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you look at that, Sean, and the good points that you make there as well. And if any City fans are watching, please comment, guys. You know, you look at them and you think every bit of business that they do is shrewd, isn't it? There's no risks or anything like that. Well, I suppose there's always an element of risk with signings, whether it's going to work or not. But with City, there seems to be a strategic plan there that when a player gets offloaded, that another one can come in and do exactly that job. Is Kovacic going to be as good as Gundogan? It's going to be hard, you know, because Gundogan's been such a big part of what they've achieved these last few years. But I want to go back to the point that you just made there, Sean, about John Stones playing CDM. And again, it shows what a genius Guardiola is. And he is a genius. You know, this bloke not only has gone to all of his clubs, right, and completely wiped the floor with the domestic scene and European scene wherever he's been, bar Bayern Munich. But the way he makes players play in different positions is ridiculous. I mean, the John Stones situation is not the first time that's happened. You go back to Bayern Munich, mate, where Philipp Lahm was, you know, an out-and-out right back. Then he brings him in field, plays him in a CDM role, and he was just as effective there. And it's just like the way he gets players playing for him, and the way he gets, you know, the players to believe in his system, his principles, you know, to keep the ball moving, I think is absolutely amazing, mate. And I honestly, I feel quite lucky, mate, as a football fan. Obviously, my team aren't in the Premier League, but as a neutral to the Premier League, Sean, I feel dead lucky to be able to see a manager like that, because it's ridiculous how good he is. And I think, you know, we've got to be careful as well, Sean, that we don't contradict ourselves, because obviously we've talked about domination in European leagues. We don't want that in the Premier League. But there has to come a time, mate, where you look at it and you think to yourself, my God, this guy's good. And, you know, I can't... Go on, sorry, mate.
Sorry, so it'll be a sad end. It'll be a sad end, won't it, when he actually leaves the Premier League?
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned there, you know, the records that he's done so well for every club that he's been at, really, hasn't he? You know, you mentioned Bayern Munich and obviously Barcelona and then City. Who knows where he's going to go after and how long he's going to stay in Manchester City for. But going back to the players as well, where you just mentioned Philip Lahm going from right back to central midfield. Another player like that, similar, is Joshua Kimmich as well. I mean, Kimmich started off as a right back.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, he's gone down the same route as Philip Lahm. He's obviously in midfield now. And I think it just shows as well, like, there's a lot of players now who can play in different roles. In different systems.
Yeah. I think as well, Sean, I think as well what it proves as well is it's like, but they're all like that though, mate. It's like, if they have an injury during a game, I don't know if Akanji got injured, right? Rodri, you go in playing central defence, which he's proved that he can do. You've got Jack Grealish playing on it in a sort of like, obviously I know the two central defensive midfield players are there to sort of protect, obviously, the wide areas as well to stop them getting exposed. But obviously Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish last season were tracking back. So he's got Jack Grealish playing the best football of his career. You've got Bernardo Silva, who's an absolute, he's magic. You've got De Bruyne, who honestly, mate, it's flawless football, mate. It's absolutely flawless football. It's like, from a tactical point of view, to actually just everything across the board with Guardiola, mate, is nearly absolute perfection. It really is. I can't speak highly enough of him, mate.
Well, that's another player as well, Bernardo Silva. He was obviously ideally a winger when he was at Monaco. Guardiola brought him in, and then again he's like changed his position. He's obviously on the wing, but then he comes into midfield. And I think what's important nowadays, Saul, is for wingers, they've got to track back. Because obviously that's the system that Guardiola's playing.
That is important,
and a lot of managers are doing that nowadays, and also pressing as well. Like obviously Arsenal are doing that now with Arteta, with obviously him being at Man City, obviously learning his trade under Guardiola.
Yeah.
And Arsenal have got similarities, haven't they, for Manchester City, the way they play, which obviously has paid off with Arsenal doing so well last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a question for you, Saul. So on Manchester City, who do you think they need to strengthen again? Like, do they need to bring in another player? Or
I think that's a good question, mate. I think a couple of players wouldn't go amiss. I think you've got to look at the sort of. Again, he likes to play that false nine thing, Guardiola, doesn't he? Where he feels he could put like a Foden up front or something like that if Haaland got injured. Rumours circling as well, Sean, that they're not out of the race for Mbappe as well. I mean, my God, mate. I mean, if he ends up going there, I mean, God, well, yeah, everyone can figure out the rest, can't they?
Well, I did a short video this morning about Mbappe, actually. Well, actually, it was yesterday morning. Sorry.
Yeah.
And, it's crazy. It's scary, mate, isn't it? It's scary.
Yeah, I
crazy money.
Yeah, and I think it's like, if he ends up at City as well, I think that would be a good career move for him. But going back to your question, mate, I think a couple of additions, squad players mainly. Obviously, they're covered in probably most areas, mate. Obviously, they've got Calvin Phillips. We've still not seen the best of him yet at City. But I think, mate, there's not much strengthening to be done now. Obviously, they've got a good youth system now as well, City. You've seen, the young lad Lewis, who's been coming in last season. He's done really, really well.
Yeah, he looks a good player, doesn't he?
So they've got plenty of players there for backup, Sean. So I don't think there's much strengthening to be done at City. And if you want my pre-season prediction, mate, I think that the League Championship will be going there this season. So that's everything on Manchester City, mate. Let's talk about Klopp's men, Liverpool. So obviously last season, mate, it was very, very disappointing, although they came good in the second half of the season at the end. Very, very good signing so far. in McAllister, and I don't know whether you can pronounce the other one for me, please, Mr. Jones.
Szoboszlai. Apparently,
Yeah, something similar to that, isn't it? Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, go on, sir.
Yeah, I think like. So from my point of view, you look at Liverpool's team now. McAllister's come in. They obviously made some additions in January with Cody Gakpo, obviously from PSV. I think what we're talking about now, Sean, I genuinely think that I think Liverpool are going to make a re-emergence this season. I don't think they'll win the league. I genuinely don't. I think they'll be. I just don't. I don't think they've still got enough. But obviously, they're not in the Champions League this year, which obviously disappoints them. They're going to be playing Europa League football. But there needs to be a sort of. I think this is a massive season for Klopp, mate. And the reason I say it's a massive season for Klopp is he's always reached a point at his clubs, Sean, as we know, where it started to go a bit. It started to go downhill, and when it goes downhill, when Klopp's at a club, it goes downhill rapidly. And I think, this season, I think, it's important. There's still some players for me that need to do more. I think, you look at the likes of Nunes. He's a player who I personally like. I think he's got loads of potential, but he needs to do more. Yeah, I believe he's been given the number 9 shirt this season, hasn't he? So I don't know whether that's a psychological thing from Klopp. Obviously, the number 9 shirt, Liverpool's massive with all the great players they've had down the years. And I can see them, mate. I can see them mounting a challenge. I just can't see them winning the league. I think maybe a cup or doing well in the Europa League, but I don't think they'll be winning number 20 anytime soon, mate. What do you think about that, mate?
Yeah, for me, I think they'll make the top 4. I think they'll make the top 4 this season. But again, obviously, last season the midfield was not good enough, was it?
No.
Obviously, that's why they brought in McAllister and Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
But for me, mate, I think they still need a couple of midfielders in there because.
Yeah, I do as well, mate. I do.
Because obviously Henderson's gone now, hasn't he? He's gone to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And Fabinho might be on his way as well.
Yeah.
It's just they're going to be up short, aren't they? They're going to come short in the midfield. So
yeah,
me, I think they need another player in there, and I think they're after that Lavia from Southampton, a young player. But yeah, I just think they'll make the top 4, but they need more in midfield, in my opinion. Maybe what we mentioned the other day actually. Could Alexander-Arnold go into midfield and maybe get a new right back?
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I think like the way I look at it, obviously there was a specific game that they played in last season, mate. I think they beat Leeds 6-1, didn't they, at Ellen Road? And Alexander-Arnold was playing in the middle of the park. It wasn't particularly tough against Leeds that night because Leeds were god awful, to put it bluntly. But it was like the way he passed the ball, the way he got Liverpool playing. I think it's a serious option. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we miss nowadays, Sean. Obviously, when you've got the ball in terms of a team shape. What you found last season as well was when Liverpool had the ball, obviously to accommodate what Alexander-Arnold can do in midfield, Robertson would tuck in. Obviously, the 2 centre-backs would sort of like spread out, and then Alexander-Arnold would sort of cut in and receive the ball in the midfield area. And I think that's going to be a massive advantage for them. I think, the top end of the pitch, mate, for Liverpool, it's catered for. They're absolutely brilliant at the top end of the pitch. They've got Diaz, they've got Salah, Gakpo. Obviously, I know Firmino's gone now.
They've got Jota.
Jota. But what the main concern was for Liverpool last season is that their midfield was getting exposed big time, especially in the big games. They were getting overrun, and I think Klopp's done well to address that.
It's
So
also an aging midfield as well, isn't it? So, like,
yeah,
it's an aging midfield. So that
exactly, mate.
hence why Henderson's gone, and Fabinho may be on his way out as well. So I think that's why they're looking at that Lavia from Southampton. Obviously, he's 19, but
Yeah,
he looked really good in a poor Southampton side last season, didn't he? So that's
yeah.
why he's got a lot of interest coming in.
Yeah,
Um,
I think as well, Sean. It's that youthfulness that you need as well, mate, isn't it? You need that
yeah,
youthfulness in the middle of the park. If you haven't got the legs in the middle of the park to get up and down and compete with teams, you've got no chance, mate. Absolutely
well,
no
that's it.
chance whatsoever.
The
It's like
midfield is most important.
area of the pitch.
Area of the
It's
pitch.
like
Yeah.
it's like last season, mate. Henderson and Fabinho just look completely. They just look. They just look tired most of the
Yeah.
time. So I think it's important that Liverpool have addressed that midfield. McAllister's a brilliant player, mate. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's got big energy. He was impressive, obviously, when Argentina won the World Cup. And I think I'm very very excited to watch him this
You,
season. I'm
you,
looking forward to that. So I think on
you wouldn't think
Liverpool,
he was Argentine, would you, so?
no, you wouldn't.
With a name like McAllister, you would think
No,
he was
no,
like
it's a
Scottish
bit,
or something like that.
it's a very Scottish name, isn't it? But
Yeah,
but hopefully he can be as good as the other McAllister that they had there. I mean, Gary McAllister is absolutely brilliant for Liverpool, so hopefully he
yeah,
can be as good as that. So I think we're agreed on Liverpool, Sean, that obviously a top four finish and maybe a run in the cups would represent a good season. I just thought we'd stay on Merseyside though, Jonesy, to go over
yeah.
to the blue side of the
Liverpool.
Stanley Park. I think Everton. So stayed up again last day of the season. There wasn't the usual pitch invasion where they're all jumping up and down because they've come 17th. There was actually a feeling, that they've, there was actually a very sort of like disappointment sort of feel in Goodison, wasn't there?
Yeah,
So the recruitment so far this summer, mate, has been Ashley Young. Okay. I'm worried
that,
about Everton this season, Sean. I genuinely really am worried about them. And obviously, I'll get your thoughts in a minute, where there seems to be there still doesn't seem to me to be a plan there. Now, Mosri is meant to be back in that club. And to be fair, financially, he has done. Obviously, the new stadium's coming up and everything. So, really, in essence, this should be an exciting time for Everton, shouldn't it?
yeah.
But we're coming to the end of July, mate, with the season weeks away, and yet they've only signed Ashley Young. I mean, I just don't get that at all.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he had a poor season, didn't they? Sean Dyche obviously came in, kept them up. I think obviously he'll stay there. And yeah, like you say, Ashley Young's come in. Obviously, he's got experience, hasn't he, for the Premier
Yeah,
League? I think he's 38 now, isn't he, or something like that?
yeah,
You know, um, good servant for the Premier League. But yeah,
yeah,
it is worrying times for Everton. Like you say, they've got a stadium coming in. Who did he need? They need a few players, mate. They need a few players coming in.
Oh, it's an understatement, Sean.
Because
Honestly, it's an absolute understatement, mate. They need an overhaul. They do. I mean, what do you think, mate? Basically, if you look at their team at the minute, I mean, it's just like what you meant to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like what's Dyche meant to do with that? What I don't know what he's meant to do with it. I don't know what he's meant. I don't know what you think.
Now, have they got a lot of money or what? Because obviously you mentioned the stadium coming in. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much money they've got to spend on players. Hence the reason why they've only got Young. But I did read before that they were after some player from Almeria in Spain, but they were battling out with Atlanta in Italy.
yeah,
But it looks like Atlanta have signed that striker
yeah,
for a club record fee for, I think it was like 27 million. So I think that just shows that there is money in the club, but where are they going to go with it? I mean,
yeah.
They
They,
need.
they just
Unfortunately, Calvert-Lewin, he's a good player, but he's injury prone, isn't he? Which
yeah.
is such a shame because I quite rate him. I do Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
If you think about it, Jonesy, Calvert-Lewin's Everton's modern day Duncan Ferguson, really, isn't he? He's that big
well,
number
yeah,
nine up front. That
tall.
the tall player, called up the ball, but again, like Ferguson was, just completely injury prone. Um, I don't know, mate. I generally worry for Everton this season. I really do. I mean, Deitch, I think Deitch is a really good appointment, Jonesy. I think obviously
Yeah,
he's proven in the Premier League. He's proven that he can get the best out of players. I think though, to leave yourselves in the position that they have done so far and not recruit properly, I think is shocking, especially after last season where you've come, they've now got relegated, right? 2 seasons on the bounce. 2 seasons on the bounce, and it seems to me no lessons have been learned. And yeah, I worry for Everton, Sean. I generally do. I think next season they'll be down there. I generally do.
well, there's another player though. I would have thought Connor Cody would have stayed there, to be honest with you, because
He's ended up going to Leicester. Yeah,
with his with his leadership skills, and to be honest with you, Saul, I was surprised he actually Wolves let him go because I think he was a good defender. Obviously, England international.
yeah, yeah. I must admit, Sean. With Cody, mate. The jury's out for me. I think he's a good character. I've around the
Around the
dressing room.
dressing room, yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
I think, mate. I think he's quite slow. I think he's quite. I don't know, mate. I've never been a massive fan of him, really. So I don't think that's a massive loss for Everton, really. Tarkowski, mate, he's a brilliant player. He's a proper centre back, that lad. Obviously, had a good time at Burnley with Deitch. So yeah, I think.
What about Seamus Coleman? So I mean, he's just signed a new contract, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think again that goes back to that character side of things, Sean, isn't it?
Yeah,
Who sort of who to keep sort of to keep around the dressing room, who's going to be a good influence and stuff like that. I think what you'll find, Jonesy, as well, I think there's a role waiting there for Coleman when he finishes as well. Do you know what I mean? I think there's like sort of Dyche will look to probably to get him on the coaching staff and everything like that. But
yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Goodison this season, mate. I fear for them. I really do. I think they could be struggling again. But what I think might go in their favour is they've got a very, very good manager in charge. I think Deitch is very shrewd.
It's a
And
good
I
job they've
think,
got a good manager. It's a good job they've got a good manager, isn't it? Because, like you
yeah,
say, if they haven't, then I worry even more for them. I mean,
yeah.
I think the
So
Everton fans should comment below as well what you think of the new season coming up, and
yeah,
are you worried as well as Evertonians?
yeah, definitely. I think it's a concern, mate. I think they need to recruit properly, and it's going to be interesting to see. But in my opinion, Sean, my prediction for Everton, I think it's going to be another season of struggle. But obviously,
I
time.
think yeah. I think they'll
Yeah,
stay up. I think they'll stay up. I think it'll be it'll be a similar season, I think, than last season. But it all depends again, mate, on the signings if who they're going to make.
yeah,
Because obviously the transfer window is obviously still open, and
yeah,
it all depends on who they're going to get. But for
yeah.
me, yeah, I think they'll stay up, obviously because of Sean Dyche. But again, I think it's going to be sort of a similar season if they don't improve the players.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I couldn't agree. So, obviously, Sean, we'll touch on Man United just quickly. Onana's come in. Good signing, obviously, for the club. A lot of rumours going about Harry Maguire at the minute, buddy. What do we think about Ten Hag's men this season, mate? Obviously, Mason Mount's coming as well. There's still all the sort of speculation regarding the ownership of the club. What we're saying quickly on Man United, mate? What do we think?
Well, they need a striker, don't they?
Yeah,
They need a striker. And they're after that Hoyland from Atlanta. Which, by the way, they're quoting 80 million for. I mean, they're not going to get that money. They're not going to get 80 million. I think Man United are obviously going to talk to him and get the price down. But I think, they've needed a striker for so long, haven't they? After so many years, ever since Van Persie left. I mean, I know Rashford can play as a striker, but he's normally on the left wing, isn't he? But I think obviously De Gea's left now, hasn't he? So they brought in Onana. You know what? I think it's going to be his first season at United. I think Onana. I've seen obviously him play for Inter Milan, and obviously in the final there, Champions League final. I think he's a good shot stopper.
Yeah.
And obviously he's known for his footwork and passing out from the back. He likes to play that sort of way, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I think I don't know if he's going to struggle at first in his first season, because obviously the Premier League is a different kettle of fish, isn't it? It's not the Serie A.
Yeah.
It's not the Serie A. He obviously played for Ajax as well. It's not the Dutch league. So it'll be interesting to see how he does deal with that in his first season. Obviously, he'll get better. He'll get better and better, obviously, as the season goes on. But, he's going to find it tough to play in the Premier League. Yeah,
definitely, mate. I think, so if we're going on predictions then, Sean, what we're saying for United then, mate, I'm going for a top 4 finish, but not ready to challenge for the league, mate. What do you think?
I think they'll be better than last season. I think they'll finish in the top 4. But I'm not sure whereabouts. I think they'll finish in the top 4. I think they might, in my opinion, I think they'll replace Newcastle from the top 4. Because obviously Newcastle have got a Champions League football now, haven't they? And and we haven't obviously touched on Newcastle, but that's for a later episode. But they brought in Tonali, haven't they?
Yeah, brilliant.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Newcastle do in the next season. But for me, I think Manchester United will probably replace Newcastle in the top 4.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, mate. I think that's a really valid point. Right, let's go over to North London then, Sean. Unfortunately, mate, sorry to upset you. We're going to start with Postecoglou's men. Okay, so Spurs have brought him in. Obviously, treble-winning manager at Celtic, Sean, did an amazing job there, especially what he had to walk into. Obviously, with Spurs, there's been the Harry Kane saga this summer, where he's going to be ending up and everything like that. And obviously, Spurs fans, please give your comments in the comment section. I think it's going to be quite interesting, Sean, with Spurs, because, I'm not going to lie. We all know it as football fans. Spurs will always let you down. They will do. They'll find some way of mucking it up like they always do. But I don't know. There's something about this appointment. There's something about this appointment, mate, with Postecoglou that I'm like, that's not a bad shout, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think, people, the fans out there will go, well, he's won a treble in Scotland. So what? Well, it's not that easy to do it. The demands and everything that gets put on a Celtic manager, an old firm manager, is unbelievable. And to play the football that they did and everything like that was amazing. Maddison's come in. Obviously, that's a good signing so far. What are you saying for Spurs, Jonesy? I know. Obviously, they're not your favourite club, but what are you saying for them?
Well, it all depends on Harry Kane, doesn't it? If he goes or not. I mean, because I tell you, if Harry Kane does go to Bayern Munich, mate, I can't see Spurs finishing in Europe, to be honest.
No.
Who are you going to replace Kane with? There's not a lot of strikers out there that scores how many types of goals, how many goals a season. You've only got Haaland really and Mbappe. I mean, they're not going to get Mbappe. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They've brought in Solomon from Fulham. Well, he's on a
Yeah.
free transfer actually. So, like you say, you mentioned James Maddison. Obviously, Leicester City's best player, and then
Yeah.
obviously they got relegated last season.
But,
They
but,
brought
but,
in
Jonesy,
Kulusevski as well.
can I just ask you a question on Madison, mate? Right, and guys, let us know your thoughts. I don't know, mate. The jury's still out for Madison with me, and I don't mean this like there's a player there. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's kind of like it. I
You
don't
think he's
know.
overrated?
Yeah, I do, mate. I must admit, I always have done. He comes across very well in an interview and everything like that. And to be fair, most football players do nowadays. But I just think last season, when it really mattered, a player like that should have taken more responsibility in trying to help Leicester stay up. And I just don't think he did that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does, mate. Personally, if you want my honest opinion, Sean, I think Spurs are going to finish probably about fifth to eighth. I would say for Spurs would be my.
Kind of like last season. Then,
I don't think there's going to be much of a change, and obviously there's going to be some transfer activity, no doubt, from Postecoglou before the window ends. But yeah, I'm going for fifth to eighth for Spurs. Sean, what you saying, mate?
I agree.
Yeah,
I think again though, mate. For me, it all depends on if they keep Harry Kane. I mean, if they don't, then I worry for them. I don't think they'll. I don't think they'll even make. I don't know, the top six if they lose Harry Kane. I mean, obviously Harry Kane is the most involved player at Spurs. Like he's their main man.
Yeah.
And if they lose him, who are they going to get in to replace Harry Kane?
Well, the thing is, Jonesy, there's like a shortage, isn't there, on most of world class strikers now. But it'll definitely be interesting, mate. Right, Jonesy, dedicated to you, of course, mate. Let's round off the episode with the Arsenal. Okay, so last season, mate. Obviously, it'd be interesting to get your point of view on it, being a massive Arsenal fan. Last season, so close, but obviously, so nearly winning the league and that. What are you expecting this season? Rice, Timber, Havertz have come in. What are you expecting this season, mate? Tell obviously the Football News UK fans what we can expect to see from Arsenal this year. Do you think?
Well, obviously, I'd like to see him win the league.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Obviously, with the signings of Declan Rice, obviously 105 million is a lot of money. Obviously, club record fee, and obviously, Man City tried to get in there, didn't they? Try and get him to Manchester City. Obviously, his mind was made up to join Arsenal, which is great news for me. But another good signing, mate, is Timber. I really rate that guy. The guy from Ajax. Obviously, United tried to sign him last summer.
Yeah.
But he stayed at Ajax and then made the move to London. But for me, mate, I really obviously want Arsenal to win the league. But I'm going to say second, mate. I think we might finish second this season. If we obviously continue the way we do. But for me, I still think Arsenal need another, like a striker. They need a striker, like you say, who can score 30 plus goals. Because they haven't had that. I know. Obviously, they score. The midfielders chip in. Odegaard had a fantastic season, didn't he, last season with 15 goals.
Yeah.
And then you've obviously got the wingers coming in with Saka and Martinelli. Jesus obviously scored some goals as well, but he got injured for 4 months last season. But again, I don't think he's a 30 plus goal scorer, is he? So for me, I still think Arsenal need a top striker because I don't think Eddie Nketiah is good enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
For a backup striker.
Would do you think there could be a cup competition one this year, Jonesy? Do you think?
I hope so. I think we'll get a good. I would like to see them win the FA Cup again this season.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, they're in the Champions League this season, aren't they, as well, which is good because they've been out of it for so long.
Yeah.
Be good to actually hear that anthem again at the Emirates.
Yeah.
That we've not heard of for a while. So I'll be looking forward to see the first game at the Emirates, which would be amazing. But yeah, for me, Saul, I think personally, Arsenal would finish second. I'm going to go second. I think City again, though. Again, probably win the league again. With
Happy
obviously
days.
they're a machine. Obviously they're a machine, aren't they? With Haaland scoring 50 odd
Trophy,
goals a season,
trophy
ridiculous,
winning.
isn't it?
Yeah. 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 And do you know what, Sean? I'm going to go. I'm going to go Arsenal second, mate, with a cup win as well, either the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. So it's going to be interesting. Right, guys, that pretty much wraps up our sort of episode today. So what we've gone through today, guys, is really the top end of, I know we sort of touched on Everton, obviously, but we touched on that really because obviously the lack of transfer activity that's been happening. So what we're going to do in the next couple of episodes, we're going to sort of look at the middle of the table and who we think is going to be who's going to be down there, who could potentially be going down and everything like that. But thank you so much for all your subscriptions and everything so far. We couldn't be more grateful. Honestly, we're absolutely delighted of how this channel is going at the minute. It's just an absolute buzz just to like interact with all you guys and just speak about football, which we love so much. We're excited about the Premier League coming up. It's going to be an amazing season. As you've seen on the channel, we've been doing a lot of short videos as well. There's going to be a lot more of those coming up as well. So we're going to be doing a lot more of them. We've got Glasgow coming up on the 7th and 8th, where we're going to be doing our Scottish football preview. Where we're going to be doing a tour of Celtic Park and Ibrox. We're looking forward to that. But guys, on today's episode, let us know what you think in the comments section. All the teams that we've mentioned. Where do you think they're going to finish? Are you happy with the signings that they've made? If you do if you do support the clubs that we've mentioned. But honestly, guys, we cannot thank you enough for all the support that we've got so far. We're absolutely made up with the way it's going. Jonesy, do you want to add anything, mate?
Yeah, again, absolutely brilliant. I'd like to thank everyone again for your support, subscribers. We couldn't have asked for anything better. You've been brilliant, so we just want to get that continued going. And, like you say, we're doing really well, aren't we, Saul? We want this channel again to improve. So, and it'll be even better when the season starts because, like you say, we're going to go to games as well. So we're going to get some vlogs going as well. So on match days as well. Hopefully we'll chat to some fans as well. So that's what we've got coming up for you guys. So again, we really appreciate it.
And guys,
thank you so much.
Yeah, and guys, we're pleased to let you know as well. We're looking at getting a studio sorted out soon as well. So obviously it's going to be more sort of like professional as well. And going into the season when we're going to be doing our sort of tactical analysis on the games and stuff like that, we're going to be, we want it to be the best it can be for you as well. So we're looking at getting that sorted in the coming month. And obviously we'll put, posts out on the channel of when it's sorted and what you can expect to see going forward. So it's really, really exciting times for the channel, guys. And
you won't just see our bedrooms in the background.
You just want you actually see a bit of football memorabilia and everything like that. So we're looking forward to that. But Jones, have you got anything more to add, mate?
No, that's it. That's it, mate. Just again, thank you so much for everyone's support, and I hope you just have the rest of a good day.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Cheers, Jonesy.
Cheers. See you later.